So I made fun of Android users once. It didn't go too well. Well, you all convinced me. I'm strictly an Android user now. Finally, now that we have that settled, let's get into the topic of today's video, Apple Arcade. Apple Arcade? That wouldn't happen to be exclusive to Apple products, would it? While yes, these games may be exclusive to Apple products, let's not immediately rule them out. The common critique I hear is that this is a subscription service. And that may be true, but would you believe me if I told you I have never paid for it? Here's a little tip, guys. Become a Target Circle member with a new email every couple of months, and you are set. Take that, Steve Jobs! Besides, I still think this is worth $5 a month. Hundreds of great games with no microtransactions or in-app purchases, updated high-quality re-releases of classic mobile games, brand new titles, and sequels to games we wanted for years? There's a lot to love here. But hey, maybe the critics are right. Maybe these games aren't so good. Well, I say we gotta play them and find out. Let's rank every Apple Arcade game. As per usual, this is not literally every game on the service, but I've made sure to choose some of the biggest or most standout titles from it that are brand new games, not just re-releases with a little bit more content like Crossroad Plus or something. There are a few Nickelodeon or Disney games too, so I only chose one from each series. And I tried to choose games I never heard of and ones I know are great. Lastly, these were all exclusive at one point, but a lot have been ported to Switch and PC, and one was even removed from Apple Arcade. Ooh, scandalous. That means our list for today includes Frogger and Toy Town, Sneaky Sasquatch, Stitch, Assemble with Care, Episode XOXO, What the Golf? Gibbon Beyond the Trees, Tint, Warped Kart Racers, Squiggle Drop, Frenzic Overtime, Solitaire Stories, Zen Pinball Party, Castle Crumble, Disney SpellStruck, Wurdweb, Nickelodeon Extreme Tennis, Super Leap Day, Spyder, Moonshot, and Air Twister. Without further ado, let's discuss which of these games make me want to buy a new iPhone every day, and which ones make me wish I hadn't thrown my Android away. First on our list is Frogger and Toy Town. I don't think this was the first game on Apple Arcade, but for some reason it is synonymous for me with the subscription service. I was always a big fan of Crossy Road, so who knows, maybe Frogger has a place in the modern day. Besides, that Frogger. I may have loved this game as a kid, but that doesn't mean it's not nightmare-inducing. Thankfully, this is a much brighter, more fun Frogger game. If you are somehow unfamiliar with the gameplay of Frogger, your goal is to get to the end of each level by avoiding obstacles. This game has added enemies, little froglets to collect, and new abilities. I'd say the ability to climb and jump on stuff is really the highlight, and finding super hidden frogs in hard to reach places is really fun. I feel like this is a kid's game, but it's actually really hard. Getting every single froglet without dying is really difficult, and seeing the frog just flatten out and lifelessly fall to the ground is pretty traumatizing. For a Frogger game, this has got to be one of the best, but compared to other mobile games, it can't be better than B. Another early game on the service was Sneaky Sasquatch. Having big feet isn't your only problem, you must also live a life near a bunch of humans. Exploring the town and successfully hiding yourself from the humans in it is your goal in this game, but otherwise you're pretty much allowed to do whatever you want. I can't believe the amount of wacky hijinks I got into while playing for just a little while. I went skiing, I stole a car GTA style, I caught a fish, I stole this guy's Jeep right in front of him and drove it into an excavation pit, I ate all my food very politely, I stole this motorcycle, Mr. Beast! Remember, Sasquatches can't read. This game is massive and you can do a ton of things if you're into it. I'm personally not a huge fan of this genre, but I'd highly recommend it to people who are. That's gotta be A tier. If I'm being honest, I made this whole video so I could show more people Stitch. It is the only game I keep my Apple Arcade subscription for, and I play it daily. Games have all tried to be good, but they're all trying too hard! Making cool crocheted art is where it's at. You finish puzzles section by section, making sure that each little stitch is filling in the amount with the corresponding number. It's weirdly hard to explain, but the gameplay speaks for itself. There are some very small puzzles, and some insanely huge puzzles, and I honestly love both. Let's look at some of my favorite ones I've completed. This one's pretty. Ooh, can't forget about this one. That one right there! It's my least favorite, but this one? That's my second least favorite, but that one is my favorite of all time. I also use this as an excuse to make a real big one for you all to see. Isn't it beautiful? There are weekly puzzles too, so I spend every Monday doing this while pretending to do my job. I mean, totally do my job, and don't play this game or anything, that would be crazy. Anyways, any game I'd risk losing my job for is an easy S tier. Play this game now! Apparently games leave the service all the time, which I had no idea was a thing, and that definitely takes some points off for my praise of the service. One of the original games on Apple Arcade was Assemble with Care, and if you want to know if it's good or not, all you really need to know is that it was made by the creators of Monument Valley. So we're already warming up the S tier spot for it. She'll be nice and cozy in there when we're done here. This is a story heavy game, but if all you want to do is focus on restoring a few broken items, then it's still a great time. That is the entire gameplay, and I don't know about you, but I love seeing broken things being restored. It's really fun, and taking things apart to find the problem is always a good puzzle and feels very satisfying to complete. The art of this game is stunning too, not only in the storybook sections, but in the assembly parts. Now I'll be honest, since it's no longer an Apple Arcade, I only played the free version here. But you know what? That's perfect, because you should all go and buy this game to experience it for yourself. I played it all the way through before and I loved it. Alright, I think that S tier spot should be nice and toasty by now. I knew which games would be great to include because they're actually amazing, and I knew which ones to include because they'd be very funny. And if you know anything about the game Episode, then you should be excited to see what kind of drama I get into. Episode is basically a visual novel game, but with choices you get to make that change the story. This one is called XOXO, which means we're about to get hot and spicy with some dating scenarios. Right off the bat, this game barely works. I stupidly named my character George, and when I wanted to change it, the button didn't work. So it's George now! There are a lot of stories, but one of them is called Level Up, so I obviously have to pick the gamer girl story. George is in a gaming competition, but oh no, her partner's wrist is broken. Now she has to play with her nemesis. Oh no, I hope they don't fall in love or anything. Don't worry, it's only gonna take 7 chapters until they freaking kiss. Maybe this isn't funny and it's just completely uninteresting. I can only take so much of this schlock. Almost nothing interesting is happening. How can you have a visual novel dating game where the only things that happen are extremely boring? There's these moments where you play a game and it is so laughably bad. Look at this crap. Also, none of the options matter. The same thing happens no matter what you choose. It is the most cheap, bland, and pointless game. And is it even a game? No. D tier. What the Golf is pretty famous now. It even got a sequel called What the Car. But I've played my fair share of golfing mobile games. What could possibly be different about this one? Okay, you convinced me. This is amazing. I love entering level and not knowing what the gameplay is going to be. Maybe you are playing golf with a cat now. Maybe you aren't even playing golf. Sometimes the game changes to horizontal mode and you're suddenly playing 2D levels. Didn't expect to play Mario in a golf game, did you? The amount of ideas here is so creative and fun to explore, and this is another I suggest checking out to play all the way through. It's great to have easy S tiers. Are you ready to play one of the most beautiful mobile games ever made? Gibbon is such a gorgeous game, and the amount of detail put into fully explorable jungles is actually breathtaking to see. But then you actually get to play the game too. I can't believe there aren't more games about swinging through trees like a monkey. This is like a Spider-Man game but somehow more fluent, and moving as quickly as you can feels so satisfying. Every single branch can be grabbed, and there are some cool vines to swing across as well. The story is very sad and talks about real issues of deforestation. So basically this game literally has it all. Fun gameplay, amazing visuals, and captivating story. I continue to be blown away by this game. I have no idea how it even exists, but if you take anything away from this video, please let it be this absolute gem. S tier. The creators of Stitch also made Tint, a pretty fun color-based puzzle game. It seems pretty easy at first, simply combining colors with your little fingy. Look at the silly little things you could write. Maybe even the devil numbers, that's cute. But the game gets really hard, and simply combining colors has never been more difficult. Games like this make my brain hurt, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I do get to the point in this one where I'm just not having fun anymore and it feels like homework or something. And I am an art major, so maybe that's why. I literally spend all day in class painting with my finger, and this is supposed to be my escape from real life stress? Art majors have such difficult lives. Anyways, this game is great, but not for me. B tier. I love bringing up Peter Griffin every chance I get, yet I've never actually played a game that featured him until now.
Hey Peter, remember the time we made a Mario Kart game? Oh yeah, Lois, that was freaking sweet. So freaking sweet, Lois.
Every franchise has tried the kart game spin-off, but we all know it's tough to beat the original Garfield Kart. So is this one worth your time? Well, I gotta say, the maps looked a lot better than I anticipated. The planet models are okay. Just don't watch Peter dance for too long. All our classics are here like Meg, Stewie, Lois. Wow, what a game. Wait, what the hell is an American Dad?
That is the nicest thing anyone's ever done for me.
Hey, wait a second, I recognize that voice. You can't use that anymore. I promise you, the free Mario Kart mobile game is leagues better than this one. The whole gimmick is that you're playing as your favorite Fox animation characters, but there's barely any characters. And how are you not letting me relive Simpsons Hit and Run? Bob's Burgers Bits and Buns? The Cleveland Show Shit and Stun? Where are all the other series? Also, it made me replay the dang tutorial halfway through, so screw you, this sucks hard. D tier. I'm gonna be the bigger person. The name Squiggle Drop is right for tons of stupid innuendos, but I refuse. Nothing's stopping you from doing it though. There's a lot of this style of game, where you draw a shape to solve a puzzle. I suppose this could be considered the quintessential version of these games, considering just how many levels are here. The thing is, some of these are pretty fun, but most of them are just boring. I'm pretty content with this game after just a couple of minutes. It's not terrible, and it does the job, but I don't even like the job. C tier. I love the version of this game where you get to make pizza, but here they're just solid colors.
Pizza time.
No, Tobey Maguire, it's not pizza time! Regardless, I was not expecting this game to be as difficult as it was. The time limit on every level really makes it tough. But basically you're given little wedges and you must make a full circle piece by piece. If you hoard too many of the same piece, you run out of options to place that piece and lose. You can also try to make full circles of the same color or build up combos, and it's all pretty cool. I even like the art style. The game is too fast for my slow brain, but I did enjoy it, and I think it should go right down the middle in B. Solitaire is a little more my speed, especially on mobile because you can kind of just randomly tap the screen until the game does what you want it to do. This game has different decks of cards to unlock by playing games of Solitaire and beating tough levels, and that's a fun idea. The cute little cutscenes are really charming too. It's pretty hard to put a spin on the classic Solitaire gameplay style, so I think this works perfectly fine. But unless you are super into Solitaire, or super lonely I guess, there's not a huge incentive to actually play through the game. Solitaire and mobile is sort of weird as it is, since the card game is something you do to pass the time, but there's millions of way more games out there on your phone than Solitaire. So, I don't know. I do enjoy it, but it's not mind-blowing enough to place higher than C. I've always wanted to be a pinball guy, but I'm just not very good. So maybe I should get some practice in on Zen Pinball Party. There's been a few versions of this game, but none are quite as in-depth as this one. For example, there are a lot of fun branded levels like the Snoopy table or the Star Wars ones. That's cool. Wait, shut up, Garfield Kart? Wow, this game has it all. I love that nothing too crazy happens in the levels. It really feels like you're just playing actual pinball games. Well, except for when Darth Vader talks to Boba Fett. That's a little more whimsical than the real ones. But still, the attention to detail is really cool. I'd like to say I got some cool scores with the video, but let's be real. Pinball is really freaking hard. I love it though, and I gotta say, A tier. 3D Angry Birds? Sign me up. Watching the castle, well, crumble, is crazy satisfying. You have a limited amount of ammo, but it's really not about that. The only reason I want to play this is to see the castles go boom. And once you get sick of seeing the castles go boom, well, the game really doesn't have much left to offer. A lot of the levels end up feeling extremely similar, making it pretty boring to play for longer than a few levels. It's also not difficult in any way, so you're just sitting there playing level after level doing the same thing again and again. It's a great concept, but ends up being a pretty bland final product. C tier. There are a few Disney games I could have chose here, and while I'd love to show you all why Disney Melee Mania deserves D tier, I figured we could check out the newest game, Disney SpellStruck, otherwise known as Words with Friends, but also there are some Disney characters here. If you love competitive Scrabble and Disney characters, then this is the game for you. But as a person who kinda just likes Disney, this game has pretty much nothing to do with it. There's different characters, but they can be replaced by anybody and the game would be the exact same. If I'm forced to play some stupid Scrabble game one more time, I'm gonna lose it. D tier. By the way, did you guys notice I spelled ass and crabs? Classic. Next up is... Oh, come on! I guess we're going head-to-head Scrabble style. Is Wurdweb worthy of beating Disney SpellStruck on the tier list? Well, Disney didn't make it, so I'm guessing the answer is probably yes. They have finally made a Scrabble game for small brains like myself. I don't have to come up with words, I simply have to place them now. There are challenges still, like landing on colored tiles from our placeable words, but I have to say I really love the simplification. I'm personally drawn to the precise mode, where there is an intended solution found by placing the words in the exact right spot. I doubt this is an entertaining game to watch someone play though, so we can be done. I really prefer this to most games in the genre, but it's still just a B tier. We got our Family Guy game in D tier, we got our Disney game in D tier, now we have just one more brand to cover. Nickelodeon Tennis. I can't say I have too high hopes for this, but at least I get to play a SpongeBob for once. But where's Mr. Krabs? I don't like any of these other bozos. I like money. I'd have to assume that his omission is why this game sucks. It couldn't possibly be that I'm bad at the game. Just look at this gameplay. They've took all the fun out of tennis. This is generally just a walking simulator. You walk up to the ball and it hits it for you. What an experience. Our lesson today is never play branded Apple Arcade games ever. D tier. I've always loved Nitrome games, not only for their beautiful art styles, but for their awesome ideas. If anyone remembers Icebreaker, hit me up. But they had a game called Leap Day that has now received a follow-up known as Super Leap Day. I'm not actually familiar with the original game, but I gotta say, this is pretty cool. The controls were hard to get used to as you only control the jump, but it feels good to get better and better at the game. The craziest part to me was that the level I played was really long, and then I went out to see how many levels there were and found out this is a daily game. There is a new level every day. If this game is up your alley, then good news, you've got an endless supply of levels coming your way. Plus you get to play as Bert and Ernie's long lost cousins, so it's really a win-win. I adore the art style, and the levels are challenging but still enjoyable. But this is just not my thing. Gotta go with A tier. It's hard to make a better title for your game than Spyder. It's kinda S tier for that pun alone. As Agent 8, you get to work on top secret missions in the tiniest of locations. The levels are pretty huge, and just the tutorial was a massive journey of hacking into a computer. The second mission is all about stopping a freaking flying plane though, and that's pretty awesome. I would definitely recommend connecting a controller if you have one, as the mobile controls aren't very good. Still, I really love spy games, and crawling all around as a high-tech spider is a fantasy I never knew I had. S tier. First we had 3D Angry Birds, now we're playing Angry Birds Space. Moonshot is all about using each planet's unique gravity field to make it to your destination. I didn't get too far into the game, but from what I played, it was insanely easy and mindless. The graphics are very nice, and the idea is sound, and I'm sure it gets somewhat difficult by the end. But then I saw my worst nightmare. French Moon. Sacre bleu! C tier. My goal of looking at all the Apple Arcade exclusives was to find the one that looked the worst, just to see if I should judge these things by their cover. So let's end the list with one of the strangest looking subscription service games, Air Twister. And is it fair to judge a game by its cover? I'm thinking, yeah, probably. There was some crazy weird music playing at all times, and it is absolutely copyrighted. But it was like a fever dream or something, and I feel lightheaded. It is either actually Queen music or it's meant to sound like it, but it is a strange soundtrack for sure. But somehow this game is infatuating. Like, look at this cutscene. I start riding a goose as a freaking dragon shoots fireballs at me. And the protagonist is hot. I hope one day she'll be mine, yada yada yada. But seriously, I couldn't stop. I had to see what insane boss I'd be up against next. This is by far the strangest Apple Arcade game out there, and I would never have tried it if I wasn't making this video. If you want to play an insane acid trip game, then you gotta freaking play Air Twister. Is it a good game? No! It really isn't. But man, is it intriguing. Let's end the list with one last, very controversial, S tier. I started off the list making you all think this service exclusively made masterpieces, but then I pulled the wool from your eyes as you were forced to look at the rest of the games Apple Arcade has to offer. So do the good games outweigh the bad ones? I'd like to think they do. Sure, you're technically paying to own all these games, but if you only play the best ones, then who really cares? Even just paying for a single month and going nuts beating all the best games is a solid $5 spent, I feel. So that's my answer to the question. Subscription services suck, that's not a crazy sentiment to have, but Apple Arcade has created a wide range of games that could appeal to nearly every audience. Not to mention the hundreds of re-releases of App Store favorites I never touched on. Almost any classic mobile game you miss is on Apple Arcade, and that alone is worth the $5 in my opinion. So maybe I tried and tried as hard as I could, and still couldn't convince you that the service is worth a second chance, but even if a few of you go and check out Stitch or Gibbon, then this has all been worth it. Join Discord, become Patreon or channel member like Groth Onefinger, Cobalt Chrome E, Patrick Bayerjan, Honomaki, Decanite 9000, Bright Streak, MD Switchy, Gall Guy, Daisy, Poop Fart II, Dojo Master, Pez Dispenser, Omegon, Carl Williams, and Christoph Creations. If you want to give me money that I will hide from Steve Jobs and never let him near, then please consider becoming a member today. Next up on our mobile game tirade, we'll be ranking every N? What the hell could N stand for? Nincompoop? Nimrod? Is Wurdweb worthy of beating Is Wurdweb worthy of beating Is Wurdweb worthy of beating Sacre bleu! Sacre bleu! Sacre bleu! Sacre bleu! Sacre bleu!